Hello. This video is intended to give you instructions on how to fill out the financial statement form for the SAELL Intensive English Program at Northeastern Illinois University. This form is for 1 year of study in the SAELL Intensive English Program for the academic year 2022 and 2023. You may be filling this out for a future academic year after 2022-2023. Some of the numbers might be different in that case, but the process is the same. This is for 1 year of study in the SAELL Intensive English Program. There is a very similar form for 1 semester of study in our program, or about 4 months. Make sure you fill out the form that is for the correct amount of time that you plan to study in our program, 1 semester, or 4 months, or 1 year. The form is very similar, so you can still watch this video to learn how to fill out the 1 semester form, but the numbers will be different. The form will be very similar, but the exact numbers will be different. So you must fill out this form completely, and you must provide proof of funds for 1 year of study and living expenses so that Northeastern Illinois University, or NEIU, can issue you a Form I-20. The Form I-20 is what you need in order to be able to apply for an F1 student visa from the U.S. government. So if you intend to study for 1 semester, please fill out the 1 semester form. And if you intend to study for 1 year, please fill out this form. So looking at this table here, tuition and book fees for 3 semesters, so that's 1 academic year, fall, spring, and summer, that amount is $12,600. That is what it costs to study in our program and pay for your textbooks. The next amount of money on this table is for your living expenses, what it costs you just to live here in Chicago. So health insurance, you have to buy insurance here in the United States in order to be able to go to the doctor or the hospital if you're sick or you have an accident. It's not free, it's not paid for by the government in the United States. So you will have to buy health insurance. You don't buy it from the university, you buy it from a company that provides health insurance, but we estimate that's going to cost you about $1,000 for a year. You also should have about $100 for class supplies, notebooks, pencils, other things that you'll need for your studies. Food is the next cost. So the amount of food that you'll need to buy for groceries, we estimate that will cost about $3,588 for 1 year. And then transportation, we estimate that you will need about $900 to take the bus or the train to get around the city of Chicago while you are living here. So your total living expenses for those 12 months are estimated to be about $5,588. Now, the next important thing is your housing, where you will live. There's 2 choices for housing while you are here studying in our program. You can choose housing option 1, and that's an off-campus apartment, not in a residence hall. So that is an apartment you would find on your own. The university would not help you find that apartment. You would find it and you would enter into a lease with the landowner, the building owner. And there's lots of good apartments nearby our university here, and if you choose to do that, we estimate you will spend about $14,868 on your apartment rent and your utilities, things like heat and electricity for that year. The other option, housing option 2, is to live in the NEIU residence hall. That's known as the Nest. You will live in a 4-bedroom apartment. It has 2 bathrooms, and you will share it with 3 roommates. And if you choose to live in our campus housing, you will pay $11,690 for the year. On the actual form, there's a link here. You can click on it to read more about housing at the Nest here in our residence hall. So here we need you to mark an X next to your choice, whether you want to live in housing option 1, the off-campus apartment, or housing option 2, the NEIU residence hall. If you're going to live off-campus, you would mark this with an X. If you're going to live in the nest, the campus housing, you would mark this with an X. Now, your tuition and living expenses are the same for both housing options, but the amount of money for housing option 1 is this amount, the amount of money for housing option 2 is this amount. So the total, if you live off campus, housing option 1, is $33,056 for the year. If you live in the NEIU residence hall, the total for the year will be $29,878. So it's very important. You must tell us where you're going to live, and that will tell you the amount of money that you need to have for our program. Now, the next section is about dependents. If you have a wife or a husband or children, and you're going to bring them with you to the United States while you're studying in our program, you must mark an X here for yes. If you do not intend to bring husband, wife, or any children, you can mark no. So please, if you're bringing some people, yes. If you're not, press no. Now, if you're bringing a wife or a husband, you'll need to add this amount of money for their living expenses, this amount of money for their health insurance, for a total of $8,380. You add that to your total from up here. For each child you're going to bring, this amount for their living expenses, this amount for their health insurance, you add this much money, $6,800, to the total from up here. The amount of money needed for dependents can increase without notice. Maybe you will end up needing more money for their living expenses or health insurance. So keep that in mind. You will need to provide identification pages of their passports, documentation of their relationship to you, either a marriage certificate or birth certificate for your children. And then you need to tell us their country of birth, their country of citizenship, their email address, and their phone number. Now, going to the next page, this next section is about personal resources. This tells us who will be paying for your tuition, fees, and living expenses, as well as housing, while you will be here studying in our program. So that person is called your sponsor. The sponsor can be you if you will be paying for yourself. But if your parents or family members or friends will be paying for your studies and your living expenses and housing, they are your sponsor. You can have more than one sponsor to provide the money you need. Maybe you have some money and your uncle has some money and your parents have some money, and they are all sponsoring you to be studying here in the United States. You must list all of the sponsors on this form. So you would put the sponsor's name, if that's your name, or uncle's name, or parent's name, the sponsor's address, sponsor's phone number, sponsor's email, and then what is the relationship to you as the student. If you're sponsoring yourself, you can put self. If it's your uncle or your father, your mother, anyone else, put their relationship to you. The sponsor must sign their name here and write the date, the day that they sign their name. Now, your sponsor must submit a bank or financial institution statement on the bank's letterhead, and I will give you some examples of that. If you have more than one sponsor, each sponsor must provide us a bank letter, and it must show that they have enough money to pay for 1 year's support, the amount of money that we looked at on the first page. They must have enough money for tuition, fees, living expenses, and housing. Now, as we go on, we see that there's this section on other resources. So if you're being sponsored by a government agency or a private grant or scholarship, The sponsor or the official designee must complete this section. So you would put the name of the government agency or the scholarship you're receiving, the amount of money that you're going to be receiving, and the duration, or for how long will you be receiving this scholarship money. You will also have to provide a document of the official contract or agreement of your scholarship. Now, this section is where you will write your name. You're the student applying, so you write here your surname or family name. Sometimes we call that a last name. Then your given name or first name. If you have a middle name, you can write that here. And then here, mark an X for the term when you will be starting in our program. So if you're beginning in August, please mark the box for fall. If you're beginning in January, please mark the box for spring. If you're beginning in May, please mark the box for summer. And then you must sign your name here. And this is to certify that all of the information that you have written is accurate and true, and that you are providing financial information and original documentation for the financial form. Write the date that you are signing the document. And then here it just says that Northeastern Illinois University does not provide funds for international students. In order to be issued a Form I-20, all international students are required to show proof that they have funds or money for the first year or first semester of study. Proof of funds must be shown during the visa appointment. So when you go for your visa appointment, you must also bring your bank letter from your sponsor. Please make sure that you have enough fund for semesters after your first term of study. So we expect that you show us you have enough money for the full year, but it is a good idea to have even more than that if you end up wanting to stay longer. The amount of money on page 1 of this form are the minimum amount needed for one academic year, including fall, spring, and summer terms, full-time enrollment, as well as 12 months of living expenses. The actual costs may be higher or lower than the amount on the form. Now, in addition to filling out this form, you'll have to provide us documentation of your funds. So that includes a bank letter or bank statement from your sponsor. So again, the sponsor can be you, or the sponsor can be family member or friend. Now, the letter must be dated within 6 months of the I-20 process and visa interview. It must not be more than 6 months older the first day of your program. The first day of your program, your bank letter cannot be older than 6 months. The name of the account holder must be on that document, and the letter must be in English. If it's not in English, it must be certified by an English translator. Only the following types of accounts are accepted: savings accounts, checking accounts, certificate of deposit, or money market accounts. The letter must show the currency and its US dollar equivalency. The letter must be issued by the bank with an official letterhead or a bank seal. If the letter has no seal, it must be notarized. Now, if you have a sponsor who's living in the U.S., who are permanent residents in the United States or citizens of the United States, you can ask them to write a typed letter saying that they will be sponsoring you for tuition or living expenses. The letter must state their relationship. Are they a sibling, a family friend, or some other relationship? And the period of time they will support you. The letter must be dated within the last 6 months. And the letter must be signed and notarized. Many times people will say that they are going to be living with a family member or a friend here in Chicago. That's okay. That person is known as a living expense sponsor. If you have family or friends who are not U.S. citizens or permanent residents, but who will be sponsoring your housing and living expenses, ask them to write a typed letter stating that they will fully sponsor your living expenses. The letter must state their relationship to you, sibling, family, friend, whatever the relationship is, and the period of time they will support you. The letter must be dated within the last 6 months, and the letter must be signed and notarized. So again, if you have someone sponsoring your living expenses and providing you housing, we can subtract that amount from the total of funds that you need to show, but we must have a signed and notarized letter from your living expense sponsor. If you have a governmental agency or scholarship sponsor, you must provide the original letter from the governmental agency, the employer sponsor, or the scholarship sponsor. So if your employer, the company you work for, is paying for you to come and study, they must provide us with a sponsor letter. It should be dated within 6 months. It should state the name of the award recipient, so that's you. The letter must state the period of time covered by the award. The letter must name the institution, here, Northeastern Illinois University. The letter must state the total amount of support to be given during the time period, and the letter must indicate if the amount will be awarded directly to the student or if they will pay it to the university. Now, you can have more than one sponsor to demonstrate the total amount to cover all costs for 1 year. You can use any combination of required documentation listed above, but these things are not acceptable. Life insurance policies, retirement accounts, employer letters, real estate holdings, business accounts, and tax returns. The financial statement and the attached supporting documents cannot be dated more than 6 months before the date that they are received by the Office of International Programs at Northeastern Illinois University. So you must complete this form 6 months before you are intending to start your program. Within 6 months, not more than 6 months. You can submit a scanned PDF copy. So sending us an electronic copy is perfectly acceptable. But when you come here to Chicago after you receive your visa, make sure to bring the original financial statement and the original bank letters. Those documents will become the property of Northeastern Illinois University. Now, along with all of this, here is an example of a bank letter that you could provide, your sponsor could provide from their bank. Now, this form is only an example. They don't have to use exactly this template, but this is an example letter that your bank could use. So, and again, the account balance has to be shown in US dollars. So they would write the date that the letter is written. They would address it to the Office of International Programs at Northeastern Illinois University. Here is our address. And then the letter might say something like, "Dear Office of International Programs, this is to certify that the name of your sponsor maintains a checking account or a savings account, and as of the date of the letter, the balance on the account is," put the amount of money in the local currency, and show that it is equal to this much money in US dollars. If you have any questions, I can be reached at, and here the bank could put the bank's phone number and the bank's email address. Sincerely, and then this letter must be signed and sealed by the designated bank official. The letter must have the bank seal, and if it does not have a bank seal, it must be notarized. This letter should be on official letterhead from the bank. So, this ends my explanation of how to complete the SAELL financial form. Please make sure that you submit it in the way that you have been instructed to do so by the SAELL program or by the Office of International Programs. And if you have any questions about how to fill out this form or about your required documents, please make sure to contact the SAELL program or the Office of International Programs. Thank you.